Obscura, a podcast dedicated to the lore, legends, and myths surrounding the creatures that may lurk in your backyard. My name's Hewitt.
I'm Chris. So how's it going?
Yeah, it's been... School's out. I've got a few free days. If I can get Christmas gifts completely done, I'll be getting them down to everybody in Lafayette.
I am counting the days, which is 2, until I have my Christmas break. I get a whole week, which is, good for me, because I don't, you have whole summer.
Sort of.
Kind of. Yeah.
Volunteering is not the right word. I definitely get paid to do summer school.
Yeah.
But you want to hear about a cool place?
Sure.
And by cool, I mean possibly haunted and with a troubling history. So let's go ahead and knock out the trigger warning now.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we're going to do, or like you said, we're going to do the whole trigger warning at the beginning.
Also, it might play before we do all this, whij'ever one of us reads it, but I'm also going to say it right now. I'm about to talk about a plantation. So that comes with a whole lot of emotional
bullshit.
Baggage. There's a whole lot of historical and emotional baggage comes with talking
baggage,
about
not bullshit. I'm sorry.
Well, baggage is mostly bullshit.
Yeah, true.
So this is the story of the Chretien Point Plantation. I'm probably not pronouncing it right, and I might just start calling it Chretien. At me, South Louisiana. Whatever.
Can't do anything unless...
the plantation is in Sunset, Louisiana and Landry Parish, just a little bit north of Karen Crow and Lafayette. It was built back in 1831, and it's unusual. It's mostly brick. So it is mostly brick. It was the center of a 3,000-acre, 500-slave plantation.
Jeez.
So a big old chunk. Honkin' chonk.
This sounds like okay, so I understand that, this isn't minimizing the slave trade or anything like that. I understand that a lot of the plantations actually had, smaller groups of slaves.
Well, usually. What it is that if you're talking about slave ownership back in the early United States, before the Civil War, is that the big, huge plantations that you always see in movies, like the Candy plantation from Django Unchained. It's always okay to blow up the Klan. That movie reinforces that point. Anyway, those plantations those planters made up less than 5% of the total population. Most people that own slaves in the South, here's the deal. I shouldn't say, it's not to make it sound belittle or anything. They owned 1 or 2.
Yeah.
It was the vast majority of Southerners didn't own slaves, but they profited from the slavery that was going on.
Yeah.
The whole country profited from slavery. Let's not get it big.
Yeah. This isn't to minimize, only a few plantations were that big. It's it's just, putting this place in context with how horrible it was within context of the time. It's all horrible, but this place was especially horrible.
This is... Well, here's the thing. I'm not actually going to focus too much on the slave and plantation aspects here because, oddly enough, you got a plantation that doesn't have slave ghosts popping up.
Oh, wow. So it's not
I didn't see any stories about slave ghosts, I should say. So it's not like some of the other places. But another fun fact is, do you want to know where over 50% of the millionaires in the United States were before 1860?
The South.
Natchez, Mississippi, specifically.
Natchez, Mississippi.
Because people would have houses, big, palatial, in-town plantations that you would go to and you could have all your stuff. And then they'd own more than one plantation out in the countryside, like Longwood, which is a really weird-shaped plantation house in Natchez. The guy who owned that actually owned more land in Louisiana over in Vidalia for plantations than he actually owned in Mississippi. It's just he lived in Mississippi for the status of living in Natchez. So the Chretien Point Plantation is one of the larger plantations. It is one of those, this would have been in the movies. And in fact, the main stairwell of this building was replicated in the movie Gone with the Wind when Scarlett shoots a thief on the stairs. it's based off of this stairwell and a story about the lady of the house who was known as has been referred to as the real life Scarlett O'Hara, which is not a compliment. Also, Gone with the Wind is bullshit. Sorry, I'm not a fan of Moonlights and Magnolia. At me, Southern historians. Moonlight and Magnolia weren't true. Antebellum South is not what everybody thinks it was. It's bullshit.
We don't have a rose-tinted view of the past of the South.
Also, I'm from the South. I do love Southern history because it led to what I believe is some of the most diverse cultures here in the South. Through hate and everything else, we have created some of the most diverse subgroups of American society. That doesn't make it good, though. Anyway, before I get up on a soapbox and go on a rant about everything wrong with Southern history,
before we just start shitting on like the past 100 or so,
all the Southern fucking apologists and anyway, it's a 2-story, 12-room mansion. Today it sits on 22 of the original acres because times got hard and the family had to sell land off after the Civil War.
No! Oh dang!
My heart's bleeding. Also, the people who currently own it today keep it in a state of repair, but also to have that kind of weathered white woman Instagram.
Oh, they want it
rustic, not rustic, rustic.
They want it just a little bit tinted yellow,
little dirty.
Little dirty, but not so much
because today it's used as a wedding venue. Again, white woman Instagram, Southern debutante, too much bougie money weddings.
Oh, it's like Southern old money.
It's just like that they got. It's just like the plantation up in Oak Grove that they do that crap on all the time.
Yeah.
$10,000 minimum. So that's what it is today, and it is gorgeous property. The building itself is a great example of plantation architecture of the era. Big columns, balconies, big windows. If you want something that looks like it could have inspired the White House. Well, it's technically younger than the White House, but it's the same type of grand facade.
Same sort of architecture. It's one of those architectures that, I understand where it comes from, but it also kind of...
It announces you're an asshole.
It announces you're an asshole, but it also has a little bit of familiarity to me because there's so many buildings around here that try to emulate that to a smaller degree. I mean, you'll have like a chiropractor's office doing that same shit.
With the big freaking Corinthian columns and stuff.
It's like you crack people's neck for a living and give them strokes. What the fuck are you doing? But yeah. It is so prevalent around here, not just in like the old architecture, but like how people try to bring it back and like generally, I guess.
Now, let me give you some history about this play. So you ready for a great name? Because there's 2 players here. Both have great names. So it's
I love me a great name.
Hippolyte Chretien.
Hippolyte.
Or Chretien, however you're supposed to say it. He was a wealthy South Louisian planter who built the Chretien Point Plantation for his wife, Felicity, with several extra letters, so it's definitely the French spelling.
It's just like, there's letters in there, that's French.
There's also an accent aigu. Now, he buried treasure all over the property. His wife told him that's not how you invest in real estate. She thought it was dumb because he's like, I don't trust banks. So he literally buried boxes of money all over the plantation. So on top of what are potential ghost stories, we also have a treasure hunt because not all of it is believed to have been found.
Looks like we're going to make a second trip this year.
We might be digging in the back of someone's backyard that's in this 3,000 acre thing. But
I might have a shovel and get a ghillie suit. You never know.
But he's out the story very quickly. In 1839, he dies of yellow fever.
As you do.
Probably got bit up by mosquitoes burying treasure.
Yeah. Just out there in the fucking swamp, seeing the swamp lights, like, yeah.
Foufoulette, you're not getting my gold.
Foufoulette like, that's my gold now. And he's like, no, it's not. He's like...
And it just goes, yellow fever.
It's like...
The Foufoulette's just a bunch of mosquitoes with glow sticks.
He ends up in the fucking yellow fever mound in Shreveport.
Yeah. Anyway, so then let's focus on his wife, Felicity. Now, she was raised like a boy by her father. I don't mean like 100% like you wear trousers and you run around, but very much did not keep her in what was considered the woman's sphere. That bullshit that we still have people trying to argue about today. But, I mean, she worked admin at her father's plantation. And, of course, a lot of people are like, oh, my God, this lady is so boss. I'm like, yeah, but remember what she's still kind of boss of? She's cool, asterisk next to the name. Like, big old asterisk footnote. Bitch still owns slaves.
It's like one of those things where people are like, yes, queen, slay. And then they're like, oh, wait. Oh, no.
She's actually slaying.
Oh, no. She's actually a horrible person.
Now, she did a lot of man things. Like, she had crude language, crude humor, and something that was considered very inappropriate and aggravated her husband to no end is she rode a horse astride like a man. She never did side saddle like a lady because she said you fall off and break a leg. So,
I mean, pragmatic. Makes sense.
Also, it's the better way to ride a horse because, I mean, if you try to ride side saddle, that just seems incredibly dangerous to me. And people who deal with the equines, more power to you. I'm not dealing with the giant mutated cow things.
Look, here's the thing with the way, like, women used to ride horses back in the day. Much more brave than whatever men would do, with both legs. That's smarter.
Stability.
But, like, the way that women used to ride back in the day, the side saddle, that is definitely the way I would see, like, drunk college students trying to, like...
It's like, I'm about to ghost ride off the side of the horse.
Yeah, like, they're like, let me just plant one butt cheek on this and try to ride it. I'm just saying, like, women had to deal with a whole bunch of bullshit back in the day.
Still do.
Do.
But also, she was mad at Hippolyte because she worked in her father's admin. And even if people were like, oh, she's a woman, she's like, they still had to acknowledge this lady was effective at what she did. So she was mad that her husband didn't make her a partner because he's like, you're the wife, I'm the husband, this is mine, you take care of kids, and yellow fever dead, now it's yours. So when she took over, the plantation started making more of a profit, probably because he wasn't burying gold everywhere. Also, again, it's one of those plantations making profit. You want to be like, yay, she's doing this, but it's also, we've
gone through this. She's exploiting labor, slave labor.
We've whipped that horse to death.
Yeah. At the very least, you know what? At the very least, Hippolyte was burying gold like a crazy man across his property. We can at least find solace or, like, humor in that image of a man getting eaten by mosquitoes out in the swamp, batting away fucking alligators as he buries, like, a thing full of coins in the swamp.
Yeah.
Like a fucking moron.
Here's the thing. This is what I hope. This is my headcanon. At least a few of the slaves knew where he buried the gold, got it, and booked it.
From what I know of Southerners, this dumb motherfucker probably took some slaves out there with him one day.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we're just going to, next day, we're gone. There's the gold.
Another odd fact about slavery in Louisiana during this time. Louisiana had the highest number of freed people of color because of the Creole population throughout Louisiana. And also several of those free people of color owned slaves. So Louisiana was the only state where ethnic origin was not 100%
like guaranteed on
why you were, was not 100% on why you were a slave. And it was on one of the few states you could actually buy your freedom, but it was hard AF. But so, I mean, if all of a sudden, the reason I bring that up and why I headcanon this a little bit, or at least I hope it's true, if in New Orleans, if all of a sudden a person of color showed up and had money, a lot of people might not ask questions because they had money. Any case, going back to the story, is she successfully ran the plantation for years and raised 4 kids by herself. Now, because her husband buried gold all over the property, supposedly, thieves and bandits were not unusual because, let's be honest, this dude had 3,000 acres and he buried gold all over it. I could be a mile away from that house and just start digging and, like, if I find something good, like, people, We know how humans are.
It's like a bunch of teenagers on a fucking cow patch.
So it's
like looking for mushrooms.
So it's noted that she shot someone in the stairwell of her house because they broke in trying to steal from the house when they couldn't find the gold.
We're going back to Gone with the Wind.
Yep. And popped him. There's stories that she might have shot bandits elsewhere on the property. Also, there are rumors that she knew Jean Lafitte because he still would have been active at this point in history. However, depending on the source, she might have known him in the biblical sense.
Okay.
Also, there's rumors that maybe even John Lafitte buried treasure here. It's like, why is everybody burying treasure here?
I mean, why not, though?
It's just one of those, like, man, I heard a crazy dude buried treasure out there. You know what I need to do?
I need to bury treasure out there.
Treasure out there, too. We start a new trend.
You know what? Like, back in those days, burying treasure was just like marking your territory, okay?
Now, flash forward about 30 years to the Civil War. Felicity still lives here, still owns it, and you have two battles that occur. There's the Battle of Buzzard Prairie on October 1863.
That's a fucking awesome name.
And the Battle of Bayou Bourbeau.
Not as good.
Also known as the Battle of Grand Coteau, or the Battle of Carrion Crow Bayou.
Okay, that's better.
That occurred on November 3rd, 1863. Now, Carrion Crow is why Karen Crow is called Karen Crow, because Karen Crow is the French word, or the Cajun word, for buzzard. All these happen within a month. They're part of the failed Texas Overland Campaign. Now, the Texas Overland Campaign failed, much like the Red River Campaign, for several of the same reasons. Logistics were a nightmare because you were trying to move land forces through one of the largest, swampiest, soggiest, sinkiest parts of the entire country. You were literally moving through the stanky, wet armpit of the United States when you come through South Louisiana.
Yeah, people look at Florida as like the swamp state. We have more swamp.
40% of our state is either swamp, waterway, underwater, or within 10 feet of water.
Yeah,
we wet.
That's a way to put it.
Yeah, now that it's out. But
Florida, a big dick, we wet.
Not a t-shirt idea. Anyway, the other reason that the Texas Overland Campaign failed is because Texas was too far away and Texas was too big. They realized this, like, they're going out there, it's like, we have 1,700 dudes and we're trying to march on Texas. General Dick Taylor has 6,000 men and he's somewhere between us and Shreveport. Fun fact, General Dick Taylor was the son of President Zachary Taylor. So you have a former president's son leading part of the Confederate Army.
Oh, that's fun.
But he's also connected to one of the funniest named generals in the South. Dick Kirby.
Dick Kirby. That sounds familiar. Like, why do I know that name? Maybe because I learned about it?
Yeah. Also, there's places named after him.
Okay.
Now, so is Dick for commanding forces in this section of Louisiana. Anyway, so in October, the Union went through, pushed the Confederates out, realized this is a terrible idea, got smacked back a little bit in another battle, and started coming back, and the commanding general decided, I'm going to space all my dudes out. I'm not going to make one big camp. We're going to space ourselves out, and the Confederates ambushed them. It's considered a Union loss, but the Confederates also fled the field. But they captured 500 men, and a brigadier general of the Union Army surrendered to them. All in all, about 100-ish people died.
Oh.
On the property. Now, this leads us into the hauntings. Now, the first haunting is Felicity. She's seen walking around. She seems mostly to be trying to keep an eye on the place. She's also seen with a gun in the stairwell.
Of course. I mean, I figured that story was going to come back around.
Yeah. It'll be back around again. Also, she seems to linger around a very uncomfortable portrait of her because it's that kind of mid-1800s American style that's somewhat 2D, but somewhat 3D. Like, it looks like it's the evolutionary stage between medieval art and the Renaissance is the way it looks. Like, even though that's like over like 300 years earlier.
Are you talking about more like the...
It's before Romanticism really hit.
So you're talking about like pre-Impressionist.
I'm talking about mid-1800s. Impressionism would be more towards...
Late 1800s.
Late 1800s, early 1900s. It falls into the
like,
edge of the
post-Impressionism was heading into the 1900s.
It's more connected to around the romantic era of art.
I think I know which one you're talking about. It's like what you see in a lot of like, it's like a series of unfortunate event style paintings you see if you see like Gothic work or like Gothic media, like if you Tim Burton or whatever, like if it's like depicting something from the Victorian era, it's that style of painting.
Well, you can see that there's shading and everything, but it still looks kind of flat. Which, yeah. I mean, it's a painting. Of course it's flat, but you know what I mean? Like, they did the work. They put everything to try to give it a 3D look, but it still comes out very flat. And the eyes are really, really creepy. But I think the eyes on most paintings are creepy, personally. They follow you. So she's usually seen in the room that has her portrait, or in the stairwell, or walking along the gallery.
I feel like seeing her in the room with the portrait is more just you focused on the...
Maybe.
Yeah. For the podcast, you're focused on the actual painting, and you get that uncomfortable feeling from the painting, and then you project that somewhere in the room. That's just my feeling on it.
It might be. Now, next, the thief that was killed by Felicity is seen in the stairwell.
Of course.
Running, getting shot. Falling and
so it's like a residual haunting?
It's kind of a residual. It's kind of a stone tape theory, kind of a recorded haunting. You also can occasionally, there's stories of thieves being seen digging for treasure. There's Civil War ghosts. Like, there wasn't a lot of details. Like, you might see someone in a Civil War uniform, and that's going to be either Confederate or Union Army. It's not clear. It's like you might see people marching, but there's not like, oh, this is very specific haunting connected to it. It's like, I saw a Civil War ghost out there, which we live in the South. Like,
yeah,
throw a rock, I saw a Civil War ghost.
Like, you go down the road, Civil War ghost.
Now, the other one is occasionally there are stories of pirate ghosts as well. Again,
my favorite ghosts. Now we're getting into Scooby-Doo territory.
Yeah, it's pirate ghosts, spaceman ghost, big red glowing monster that probably is giving the dude cancer inside the suit. But
yeah, it was all like, was Scooby-Doo based in the South?
No, I think they went there once. And
where was Scooby-Doo based in? I don't know where the Scooby Gang is from.
You know, I'm going to wager with the number of antique mansions they ended up in. They're either on the West Coast near Portland, or they're in New England.
I'm going to say New England.
But they're not from there, because Fred doesn't say Pock the Cod, Harvard Yard.
Yeah, he doesn't do that. He has a more... I think he has a more Oregon, Portland, or Washington dialect. Anyway, we're getting off the...
So, in any case, and the thing is with it, I saw a ghost. There's not like at least with the sources I went through and looked through, there wasn't a ton of this hyper-specific story about a ghost. Like some of the more well-known plantations like the Myrtles or the Lalaurie House or some of those. But it's more of, the mistress of the house is still here. Very standard plantation ghost.
Yeah.
The bandit is kind of cool. Maybe seeing Civil War pirate ghosts out in the fields would be kind of neat.
So it's kind of like they're just sitting there saying, hey, you want to see some cool ghosts? As opposed to, oh yeah, this is haunted by this person who had a gruesome death here.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is I think most of the hauntings that they kind of talk about very much fall, like she's walking on the gallery. She walks through a room. The shooting of the bandits and pirates digging in the fields, soldiers marching, or you just see a Civil War ghost standing off to the side somewhere. All of that makes me think of stone tape theory, residual haunting, because a lot of energy happened here and it stayed with the land. If you want to go with that explanation. My explanation of this is I own a bed and breakfast / wedding venue that is haunted. It's $9,500. I didn't look at the prices, but it's $8,000 to have a haunted wedding at my plantation house. That's where I feel about this. And again, I'm kind of a cynic.
Now, look. You can be such a cynic about this, but if you come to my bed and breakfast and have an event here for the low price of $89.99 for 3 months, you too can see the ghosts.
Okay, to get rid of some of us being goofy with the cynicism, I fully believe a lot of these stories were manufactured later, because a lot of these stories don't start popping up till the 1900s about people seeing things. Now, at the same time, maybe people in the 1800s were just like ghost bros. You know what? In this economy, I just got to deal with the ghosts. Plus, they dress like me already, so they think I'm a ghost. Again, being silly with it. But most of these stories started popping up in the 1900s, 1930s, 1940s, especially when the house was no longer owned by the Chretien family. Like, they sold it in somewhere in the early 1900s because of the family coming on hard times. And maintaining that amount of property with taxes is expensive. So, at that point, the story started becoming more well known and heard and spread, and then all of a sudden the stairwell scene was in a movie because the story had circulated so much, and very much it became a symbol, and the fact that it's connected to Gone with the Wind. Well, what else is a plantation supposed to have? Ghosts. But we don't want to say slave ghosts, because slave ghosts brings back up problematic history. But if we say pirate ghosts, Civil War ghosts, Mistress of the House ghost.
Also, even more cynically, if you're a plantation in the South trying to claim you're haunted, you might want to try and differentiate yourself from other people. I don't know when other plantations that are now bed and breakfast started claiming they were haunted.
It's one of those things. So, again, kind of like I've said with a lot of these podcasts, man, when it's a story that I brought up, it's a really interesting story. I like the story. It has all the elements to be a good ghost story. I'm not convinced, but maybe we go check it out.
Yeah. If they'll let us there. If they hear this and they're like, fuck these guys.
That'd be fair. It would be 100%
that's fair. I mean, we're pretty, like, we say the Louisiana skeptic, but I'm also, like, I'm pretty traditionally skeptical of any place that, like, advertises itself as a haunted location, because it's almost always to bring people in. But that's kind of the nature of the South, or not the nature of the South, but the nature of Louisiana. There's a lot of haunted places here. I mean, there's a lot of haunted places you could find around the corner that you don't have to pay like $50 to get in. But it is a huge trend here, especially if you go down south. You go down south and there's
the most haunted plantation out in the middle of the swamp, but on the other side of the hedgerow is the highway and a subway. Yeah,
and then there's the ghost tours, obviously, and there's all these other things here. I mean, there's ghost tours everywhere, but here in Louisiana, there is like that cynical monetization of ghost stories that we're kind of used to.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was fun hearing about this place. Fuck this person and fuck their family for being plantation owners. But hey, you know, I had fun listening to it, and I hope anyone else that had fun listening to this will catch us next time. We try to do this every Tuesday or every other Tuesday. We're still working out that schedule, but we are Team Bonus Action, usually every Monday or so, on Twitch.
Twitch, YouTube, Blue Skies, Threads, Facebook, Instagram, and our website, teambonusaction.com.
Yeah.
And we are at bonus_team on Twitter.
And I sporadically post as at _grapeflower on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Aside from that, we'll think about like setting up anything else in the future. See what this
depending
podcast...
on how much hate or love we get with this, we might set up
some
medias for it. Well, you will, because I'm a Luddite. I don't do that.
I mean, shit. Like, this whole fucking Like, I got my backlog. I'm about to punch. Once I get to my holiday break, this shit's gonna get posted, and I'm gonna be happy and done. Not with the podcast, but
no. But so we got this. Some stuff you can look forward to is we got the La Follette. We got some more of the Loa we're going to talk about.
I was looking at doing again. Fuck, you mentioned the pirate. You said his name,
Jean Lafitte.
John Lafitte. I was looking at doing something with that.
Make sure to look into his blacksmith shop.
That is definitely something we're probably going to have to do, like a twofer on that one. But
I do enjoy going to the blacksmith shop because they got a really good double shot and Coke deal that goes on there.
But again, we have some ideas that we're going to get to. But hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and hopefully you join us next time. And until then, thank you for listening.
Bon nuit.